It may look like a harmless bagel toaster, but inside is a deadly donut. How do you know PlayStation is not a normal game system?
Hey everybody, welcome back to Game Esoterica and our continuing series, the PlayStation 1 Paradise, where I take some of my favorite PlayStation 1 games of all time, both in 3D and in 2D. And if you can't tell, as I fall flat on my face right there, we're definitely playing a 2D game today. This is Silhouette Mirage, made by Treasure. It is a side-scrolling beat-em-up that uses a red and blue color switching mechanic. And if you've never played Radiant Silvergun before, you're not going to recognize it, but if you're familiar with that game, you're 100% going to know what Treasure is on here, because this game came out before that famous shmup, and it's basically the beat-em-up version of that game. And of course, Treasure had a lot of other beat-em-ups and run-and-gun style games, things like Guardian Heroes and Gunstar Heroes. This is definitely one of their less known efforts, but it is absolutely a spectacular game with some amazing 2D sprite work, animation, and gameplay. But just as a heads up, you're not going to be seeing any high-level gameplay here, because just like Radiant Silvergun, when you get to the color changing mechanic, my brain just 100% breaks. It's never been anything I'm good at. On-the-fly switching of those different attacks is kind of like playing any musical instrument. If my hands need to do two things at once, I basically become completely inept. Take that as you will. But you will see here, if you attack with the same color, you're going to end up powering yourself down, and you can't always switch colors, but you can navigate the screen space and try to hop over your enemies to then have the red side facing or whatever opposing color you need. And you do have a shield which you can reflect your enemies' attacks, which does work out when you're in a bind. But I love the way you navigate through the world as well. All of your different movement options, running up and down the walls, the movement tech in this game is second to none, and it really does make a fundamental huge difference. But you will see here, as I attack different enemies, if I'm on the right color side, everything's working out for me, and that is really something you need to greatly focus on in this game, because if you power yourself down, your attacks are going to get powered down as well, and you basically put yourself at a massive disadvantage on your projectiles. It is a very high risk versus reward game, but that 100% works in the context of this game. And Treasure was no slouch when it came to side-scrolling beat-em-ups. Guardian Heroes is one of my favorite games of all time, and Silhouette Mirage definitely has the same vibes going on. Not graphically or within the world, but the actual gameplay of it in and of itself. And I just love how much character this game has as well. We have these green pumpkin-headed characters running at us, trying to attack us, and pretty much every single level in the game is going to show you something new, different, and unique. This game just has personality to spare, and you're going to always be laughing at what it shows you next. Like this fish character here, it's a fish, kind of looks like a trout with a gigantic blue tongue, walking on two legs above land, so clearly doesn't need water to breathe. It just doesn't make any sense, but it also 100% just endears you what it's trying to do. The gameplay is sound, the graphics are great, but the personality is really what makes Silhouette Mirage a 10 out of 10 game in my opinion. You're never bored playing it, you're always excited to see what happens next, and you get the same great gameplay that Treasure is known for, so you really can't go wrong with a title like this. Just like I said, be ready for this to 100% break your brain when you first play it, if it's been a while since you played it, because the actual color changing mechanic can be very difficult to get at first. You'll see there I switched from blue to red, and now my attack is 100% powered up, and I can decimate that character without actually trying whatsoever. That's just how this game works. You always need to be thinking on your feet and understanding where you are on the screen, what color you have, and how you want to work it. And that repel mechanic as well is going to be a huge thing. You can basically just put your shield on if you have the right color out, re-project those projectiles into that enemy right there, and kill him basically invulnerable. You need to learn every single mechanic in the world of Silhouette Mirage, and once you understand how every single thing functions, you get much better at the game. But it is 100% a game that you're going to have to practice at. This game does not come easy to anyone the first time they play it, but that learning experience and getting better through repetition is really what I love about games like this so much. And again, it's got a story, and it is a very weird story, but it's actually a story that endears itself to you. The universe of Silhouette Mirage, all the characters in it, everything they have to say might be strange, but it is a fun sort of strange. And even boss battles like this, where the bosses have that verticality and are able to fly above you, being able to run up the walls and try to get around them and attack them in real time, it does really feel like a shmup where you can move around the screen all at once. And it's no surprise that Radiant Silvergun came out a year after this did as well. It seems like maybe these games are in development in tandem, but I will say it also has one of my favorite soundtracks on the PlayStation 1 of any developer. Go ahead and listen for 45 seconds, and I'll be right back. It's just a super good soundtrack, and it definitely fits the overall vibe of Solo Mirage, and what a vibe it is. From the cutscenes to the graphics to everything you're going to see within the game, every single screen has something to show you, and it's got some of the most detailed 2D artwork I think the PlayStation 1 has ever seen. Now do be aware this does exist on the Sega Saturn as well, and technically I believe that is the superior running version. It just so happens to be that I bought this on PlayStation 1 years ago when it was still very cheap, and that's the version I always play because it's the version I know and love. But if you own a Sega Saturn and not a PlayStation 1, you want to pick up a copy, you better bring your wallet, but that is where you can play it as well. But again, as we move around the world here, just look at the background here. You have a gigantic cityscape and you have this office building in front of it, and there's so much detailed sprite work there. But then you come to another area that's basically just an enemy gauntlet, and you have this highway that does work in pseudo 3D. It does look like it comes into the screen, and as you move the camera left and right, it does slightly pivot. So it is a slight mix of 3D elements within the 2D world, and you're going to be seeing more of that coming up. But I love the sprite scaling as well. And again, the enemies are just wild. You have these characters with this gigantic Dolly Parton hair riding motorcycles and trying to pin you into a corner to attack you. Understanding where you are on the screen is just so important, and all the melee attacks, the projectile attacks, the slides, it kind of feels like a fighting game except as a 2D beat 'em up, and that is a high compliment to say. All of the input tech, all of the movement just makes you want to get better at this game and learn it more. But again, don't give up on it. This is the type of game, the first time you play, you're basically guaranteed to suck, and it's going to make you think maybe the game's not good or maybe you're just not doing it right. It's because you're not playing the game right and you don't understand yet what it's asking of you. But I assure you, if you stick with it, you're going to find one of your new favorite games of all time. If you have played this game or you have a copy of it in your collection, tell me down below because I would be curious about your thoughts as well. Because I'm sure some of you have never heard of this game before, and for others of you, it's probably your favorite game of all time. But I love this boss arena as well. You're fighting here, and then all the citizens are upset that you're making noise, so they start opening their windows and throwing things out at you that you need to avoid in real time. And if you screw up completely, you're just going to get duffed by a refrigerator and end up having to take a continue. Kind of feels unfair, but it's also hilarious that someone just picked up the refrigerator and threw it out the window at night. Don't know who thought of that idea, but I give them a 10 out of 10 for just complete creativity. And again, that's what this game really is. It's genuine fun creativity married to a 2D beat 'em up side-scrolling run and gun game that kind of feels like it's playing like a pseudo shmup at the same time. And I love the samurai character here. He just sliced an entire building in half, and it's going to slide off of its second half onto the ground below. It's just wild. I love it, and that's the thing about this game. It makes you happy while you're playing it while also challenging you to get really good at it at the same time. That is the best of both worlds. This could be a very charming, creative game and be easy, and it would still be fun. It could be a very difficult to learn game that didn't have as much charm, and it would also be fun. But when you put those two things together, you end up with such a special experience, and that's really what Treasure was all about. Every single time they released a game, they managed to make it hyper charming, unique, and fun to play while also being extremely difficult and hard to master. It just makes you come back time and time again and want to understand how to be better at the game, and that is what I love about Treasure as a developer. They always did something new, something unique, and they made you love the games even if you sucked at them when you started. And of course, they also put things in like this. I think that might just be a gigantic fish with a human face. But one more taste of the soundtrack, is this next one is probably my favorite in the entire game, but I'll come back, tell you a little bit more about the history of Treasure, the game, and why I love it so much. But enjoy this music because it's a 10 out of 10. I love it.
体力レッドゾーン
It's just an absolutely amazing soundtrack, and that's what Treasure was known for, just being an absolutely amazing developer. When they made a game, you knew you were going to be getting a 10 out of 10 in every single department. The gameplay, the graphics, the music, the vibe, the universe. When they made a game, they went whole hog on it and basically tried to make the best thing you've ever played, and they did it time and time again. And that's why I love both this game as well as Treasure as a developer. When their name is on something, you know you're going to be enjoying it. Even if you don't love 2D gaming, even if you're just a PlayStation 1 fan for the 3D 2D side, definitely check out Silhouette Mirage. I think you're going to find a lot of fun to be had here. And again, the creativity is just off the charts in a game like this. This gigantic crate just starts breaking apart, and what's going to be inside of it? It's going to be a revolver. That is the boss for this area of the game, and it's going to have all of these different bullet enemies just jump into it and load those chambers. I have no idea who came up with this, but my god, is it creative, and I just absolutely love it. And that's the thing about Silhouette Mirage. The creativity is just what makes this game so incredible. Sure, there's definitely different beat 'em ups on the PlayStation 1 you can play in 2D, and there's different running gun games you can play in 2D as well, but I don't think there's going to be a game that is as creative as this game can possibly be. But if you can think of one, leave me a comment down below. But trust me, if you've never played Silhouette Mirage before, definitely check it out, because this video is done and you can go back to your day. See you next time. Bye bye.